at the end is the support person and a person that you might contact if you have any questions. She really does keep track of what we're supposed to be doing and so forth. Are we good? Well, I'd like to call to order the Development and Review Commission meeting of July 1, 2024. We have 2 new commissioners, and I would like to ask Joanna Hasty, our senior staff support for the committee, to introduce the 2 commissioners.
Thank you, Chair Sangre. Johanna Hasty, Planning Manager for the City of Lake Oswego, and for this week only, the Acting Community Development Director, because Jessica is out of town. We do have 2 new commissioners to welcome to the DRC. It's Commissioner Yuko Mino and Commissioner Larry Linstrom. So I'm going to ask you, or the Chair would like to ask you to make some brief introductions. Chair, if you would like to expand on that.
Well, let's start with Yuko. Would you give a few minutes of introduction of your background, and we'd appreciate it.
Sure. Can you all hear me? Okay. My name's Yuko Mino. I am a licensed architect with about 20 years of experience, recently starting my own residential design firm here in Lake Oswego. In the past, I've worked on a wide range of project types like mixed use, affordable housing, medical clinics, and all stages of development from land use entitlements all the way to construction administration. A little bit about my personal background. I'm a first-generation immigrant from Japan, and I spent most of my childhood in Michigan. And I studied architecture at U of M and started my career in Southern California. My family and I moved to Lake Oswego 8 years ago, and we live in the South Shore McVeigh neighborhood, and my 2 kids both attend Lake Ridge Middle School. I think that's about it. I'm really happy to be here, and I look forward to working with you all. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Larry Lindstrom.
Hello. I'm Larry Linstrom. I'm a 3-year resident of LO. I'm also a 35-year resident of the Pacific Northwest. I was born in Portland, Oregon. I've been in the construction industry for 20 plus years. Started out as a brand new apprentice in the field, worked my way up to, I'm now a director of construction operations with a general contractor. Worn many hats, traveled all over the US, worked on projects ranging from $5,000 all the way up to $5 billion in a project management role or some kind of executive role. So I'm really excited to be here. I got my wife and daughter. My daughter's gonna be a freshman at LOJ, or Lake Oswego High, excuse me. She just got out of LOJ. But yes, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. So.
Well, thank you both. Kat, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Chair Sangre?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Connor?
Here.
Hughes?
Here.
Bates?
Here.
Leek? Here. Mino?
Here.
Lindstrom?
Here.
Thank you. A quorum is established, and so we will begin the meeting. I'd like to begin with a review of the agenda. And we all received an agenda. Does anyone have comments about the agenda? I have one. No? My comment is I'd like to add a short session right before we adjourn for a discussion on the record among the commissioners of how we want to operate and communicate some nuts and bolts things, but I think that would help us all. There is no update from the City Council at this meeting. We do have minutes from the previous meeting of June 17, and I'd like to ask if any of the commissioners have comments about the meeting minutes of June 17. Can I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from June 17th.
Yes.
I second that motion.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The agenda that we have to deal with tonight is to deal with a specific public hearing. What? Yeah, we're going to do that. I was just going to say, our only items on the agenda are a public hearing, but we have had 2 members of our commission leave, one through death and one through the expiration of term. And I would again like to ask our Director Hasty to comment and lead us in a recognition of those 2 commissioners.
Thank you again. Randy, do you want to come up to the table here so you can get on the camera? Thank you. Commissioner Arthur, former Chair Arthur, excuse me for being informal. So yes, tonight we are saying goodbye to former Chair Arthur and also former Vice Chair Bruce Poinsette. Chair Arthur has decided to transition to another board or commission. I'm not sure how that's worked out, so if you have any... Okay, he's retiring. We broke him. But anyway, I just wanted to say a few comments and then move into DSA awards. It's been my pleasure working with and getting to know both Chair Arthur and Vice Chair Poinsette for the past 13, 14 months that I've been the planning manager, and of course, the many years that I was senior planner before that. It takes a lot of dedication and commitment to serve on the DRC. And there are lots of reports that you have to read, so many documents to wade through. Public hearings can last for hours, and they can be a little contentious, and you have to make very difficult decisions in that scenario. Both commissioners demonstrated professionalism and compassion for all viewpoints and have carried out their work in an objective and consistent manner. And I know I speak for the entire planning department when I say that their unique perspectives and experiences each brought to the commission very valuable experience, and they were much appreciated, and both of you will be missed. So thank you again. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge the loss of Vice Chair Poinsette. When the city loses a prominent member, like we did in Poinsette, it's only appropriate that his Distinguished Service Award for his service on the Development Review Commission be shared by the mayor, and so that's going to be shared at the City Council meeting of July 16th. I know that his family would very much appreciate it if you could attend. I don't know if there'll be an opportunity to share any comments or thoughts you have on his time with you on the commission. But tonight, I'd like to just hold a moment of silence in memory of our colleague, Bruce Poinsette. Thank you. Thank you very much for signing the cards as well and sending flowers to him. I know they were appreciated by his family. So tonight we have with us Randy Arthur, Chair Arthur. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna keep going informal. Chair Arthur served 1 term on the DRC beginning in 2020, height of the pandemic. That was an interesting transition for all of us, and has served as the chair for the past 2 years. His background as a land use attorney was an excellent resource for the commission and their review of the applications against the very complex framework of the city's regulations. Chair Arthur is a passionate advocate for effective public testimony and actually helped draft the city's very first public testimony guidelines, which we now have posted on the website and available at the back of the room, and I think continue to provide a lot of good guidance, as they're titled, to the community and working through these very public and, like I said, contentious hearings. He gave every person who made the effort to testify his full attention, setting a tone of respect and support during sometimes these, like I said, contentious hearings. His knowledge of the community as a long-term resident was also helpful in understanding neighborhood issues and the potential impacts these projects might have on a particular area. I, along with my planning coworkers, appreciated the trust he demonstrated in staff's analysis. You very generously acknowledged our time and efforts, and that was also very much appreciated. Thank you. On behalf of this commission, and especially on behalf of staff, some of whom are here today, we would like to thank you for your years of service and your dedication to your community, and wish you the best. So I have a small gift for you. For old time's sake. Or if you would like to say a few words.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to express my appreciation to Manager Hasty. It's truly been a privilege and an honor to serve on the Development Review Commission. And I've deeply appreciated the support of our staff, Administrator Kluge, Manager Hasty, Director Namanaloo, the planning staff, and particularly City Attorney Boone. As I mentioned to him earlier, I will forever remember his admonition, apply the criteria, apply the criteria. So that will ring in my ears for a long time. But this past year has been especially rewarding as I've served with the returning commissioners, and thank you very much for that opportunity. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Randy, and I would like to speak for myself about how much we have learned from you. And sitting in this chair for the first time, I am looking at my mentor and my guide, and I accept...
You'll do a much better job, I'm sure. You and Russ and others.
But very seriously, I think you set the standard for how effectively a Development Review Commission can be led by its chair, and I hope that we can all aspire to do as well as you did. I'm sure some of my colleagues might have comments that they would also like to make.
Yes, I would as well. Yeah, Chair Arthur, Randy, I just want to confirm the fact that we've had a number of contentious meetings, and through them all, you've always had the complete professionalism and compassion for our speakers of all sorts. Very diplomatic, much more than what I'm thinking at the time when that's going on. So, and that's just been, I've really appreciated that in you, just the way that you treated everyone that came before this meeting. So thank you for all that.
I would reiterate the same thing, that your calm demeanor in the face of times when we're sitting here going, really? You didn't follow the rules, but you treated everyone with respect, and I appreciate that. And
Well, thank you.
you for your service, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you.
You as well.
Just briefly, you did a great job. Feel good about that, and it's another notch in your belt.
I need consistently larger belts, but anyway, thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to express these sentiments.
Thank you.
And best wishes.
You too.
Yes. Well, next on the agenda is a public hearing for a LU 240015, a request for a major variance to the garage appearance and location standards to enclose a non-conforming carport. The site is located at 4800 Lamont Way, and staff coordinator for this project is Ellen Davis, and I'm going to ask her to take over and introduce us to this project after we hear from Deputy City Attorney Boone about the procedures that will be followed in the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The public hearing process is as follows. First, a presentation by staff, then a testimony by the applicant up to 20 minutes. Testimony by parties in support of the application, then testimony by parties opposed to the application, and finally testimony by those neither for nor against the application. Individuals will be allowed up to 5 minutes. Any person in attendance may cede his or her time for testimony to another person, except to the applicant. But in no case shall any person's testimony be increased to greater than 10 minutes. Recognized neighborhood association, homeowner association, government or government agencies, or other incorporated public interest organizations will be allowed up to 10 minutes. These time limits do not include time spent responding to questions from the commission. Testimony by attorneys, representatives, and witnesses on behalf of or which are part of the presentation by a person shall be counted within that person's time limit. It is assumed that person is testifying on their own behalf unless they expressly identify the recognized neighborhood association, homeowner association, government or government agency, or other incorporated public interest organization they are representing. Then after testimony in favor, opposed, and neither for nor against, then the applicant's rebuttal will be up to 5 minutes. At that point, then commission deliberation, including a statement to the applicant by the commission of any proposed conditions of approval different than contained in the staff report, and the applicant's response to those conditions of approval proposed following the commission deliberation. As stated in the public notice, the deadline for submission of written materials was noon today. No written materials may be submitted to the commission tonight. Any person may request an opportunity to present additional evidence by requesting a continuation of the public hearing. This land use request is to be considered based upon the applicable criteria and standards. The staff report lists the criteria that staff identified as applicable to the request. It was available online and from the planning department. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria. Please identify to the commission the criteria standards you're addressing so the commission may consider your testimony in relation to the criteria standards. If you do not identify the criteria standards you're addressing, the commission is not obliged to guess which standards or criteria you're testifying about and may not consider your testimony in its decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes raising the issue to the City Council and the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. The failure of the applicant to raise any constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with specificity to allow the commission to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. A potential conflict of interest is declared on behalf of each of the DRC members to the extent of their business or employment, which each will identify. Unless declared otherwise, the respective DRC member does not have a known present or anticipated future business relationship with the project or the applicant. It is possible the future business relationship could arise in the initiation, design, construction, or maintenance of the project through either the employment or business of the DRC member personally or through a relative as defined in ORS Chapter 244.020. At this point, I would ask the commission members to please declare if you've had any ex parte contacts, including a site visit, if you have any bias on the application, any financial conflicts of interest, and please state your business or employment.
I think I'll start with that since Commissioner Mino needs to see the protocol and try to get the words right. I'll try. My name is Dwight Sangre. I am a retired civil engineer. I have had no ex parte relationship to this project at all. I am aware of where it is located. I have not had a site visit. I have no financial or professional relationship to the site or the consultants that have worked on the design of this proposed project. Maybe we can start with you.
My name is Kristen Bates. I'm an attorney with Chalk & Coral. I am a real estate attorney. I have no financial bias or otherwise. I've not visited the site, and I've had no ex parte contact.
Commissioner Linstrom.
Excuse me. What was the first? Oh, Larry Linstrom, Commissioner on the DRC.
Place of employment.
Oh, place of employment. I work with York and Curtis Incorporated. I have no affiliation with this case or this client financially or professionally in any way.
Have you received any ex parte contacts, any information outside the scope of this hearing, and do you have any bias on the application?
I have no bias on the application. I have not received any outside information.
No financial conflict of interest?
Say again.
And no financial conflict of interest?
No financial conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Russ O'Connor. I'm a retired senior project manager from Intel. I have not visited the site. I have no bias, no ex parte contacts, no financial interests or any other interest other than this meeting.
I'm Helen Leake. I'm a realtor. I have not visited the site. I know very well where it is. I've had no ex parte communication. I don't really know the parties involved. I have no financial interest, and I have no conflict of interest, and I have no bias.
My name is John Dews. I am a retired architect. Although I am familiar with the area and the neighborhood, I have not specifically visited the site. I've had no ex parte contacts, nor do I have any bias, and I have no financial conflict with the project.
Hi, my name's Yuko Mino. I'm a self-employed architect. I have not visited the site. I have not had any ex parte communication. I do not know the parties involved, and no financial conflict of interest, no bias on the application.
Thank you very much.
Is there any challenge to Commissioner's right to consider the application? If none, Senior Planner Ellen Davis with the staff report, please.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ellen Davis, and I'm a senior planner for the city. The case before you tonight is a request for a major variance to replace an existing non-conforming carport with a garage. I need to get this closer. Sorry. The site is located at 4800 Lamont Way between Lakeview Boulevard and Bryant Road. It is located in the R75 zoning district, which is a residential zone. There is an existing carport on the site. This carport is non-conforming and front-loading. This applicant's proposal would replace the existing carport with a two-car garage in the exact same location. Lake Oswego's garage appearance and location standards do not allow a front-loading garage in front of the rest of the house. So that is the reason for the variance request before you tonight. The proposed garage meets all of the setbacks and other dimensional standards, except that the garage is located in front of the rest of the house. The criteria for review of a major variance first look at whether there is an unnecessary hardship preventing a reasonable use of the property. Past variance approvals and long-standing interpretation hold that a two-car garage or carport is a reasonable expectation for a single-family dwelling. So there is a hardship in not being able to have two covered parking spaces on the site. Next, we look at whether the hardship is unnecessary based on the considerations that are listed in the code. The first one looks at physical circumstances of the site. In this case, the physical circumstance are trees. There are two trees that are prominent Douglas fir trees, approximately 41 and 27 inches at breast height, located in the front yard. The location of these two trees prevents the applicants from constructing a side-loading garage in compliance with the code without removing these two trees. Staff agrees that the existing trees are a physical circumstance of the site. The next question is whether the hardship was self-created. In this case, the dwelling was constructed in the 60s, and the trees have also been on site for a good number of years based on their size. So in this case, the applicants did not create this hardship. Everything was established before our front-loading garage prohibition in the 2000s. Staff finds that the unnecessary hardship criterion is met. The next criterion looks at whether the request is injurious to the neighborhood. In this case, we actually have a number of other front-loading garages that are located in front of the primary dwelling in the same neighborhood. We also are maintaining the configuration on the site because the existing carport is being replaced with a garage in the same location. So the development pattern on the site is remaining the same. And by using the same footprint, there is no additional grading and no tree removal necessary. I'll also note that we have received no public comments on this application. further indication that this may not be injurious to the neighborhood. Staff finds that this criterion is met. The last criterion requires that the major variance request is the minimum variance necessary to alleviate the hardship established in criterion 1. The proposed garage addition is a typical 2-car garage. It complies fully with all dimensional standards, setbacks, lot coverage, everything except for the prohibition on a front-loading garage in front of the rest of the dwelling. That is the only thing that is not met. So staff does find that the requested variance to place the garage in the same footprint as the existing carport is the minimum variance necessary to achieve reasonable use of the property, with again, that reasonable use being an expectation for a 2-car covered parking allowance for a single-family dwelling. All 3 criteria are met, so staff recommends approval as discussed further in the staff report. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do any of the commissioners have questions of staff? Any? Okay, well, we welcome testimony, and the first testimony would be from applicant.
Would you like to come up?
You're going to make a presentation?
Architect Steve Corbett.
And the applicant would normally have 20 minutes to make a presentation.
And if you could introduce yourself by name. And
Yeah, I'm
address.
Stephen Corbett. I'm Corbett Architects from the Architect with the U's.
I'm Muga Yu, the homeowner with my wife Gina.
So we've been working with the U's on this for a while. We actually had a previous, we submitted for a building permit previously with a bigger design. This scales back the design quite a bit. But it did have the issue with the non-conforming, or the issue with the garage proud of the house. So pretty straightforward. You have the information. I felt like it was the most minimal approach, or encroachment of the requirements for the garage, and I think it'll be an improvement over the carport that's there by a lot, and it saves the trees. And we did try to, part of the project is the part of the house we could get as close to the trees as possible to get more of the house closer to the street. We did, but we wanted to make sure we could keep those trees. And so overall, I think it improves the property. It also improves how it looks to the neighbors, and it's respectful to the neighbors. And like you said, I always prefer to follow the guidelines 100%, obviously, but you do the best you can in designing for specific situations. So.
No comment, actually. I think it's pretty straightforward.
All right. My understanding, and please correct me, but I understand we have no written comments. I don't see anyone in the audience who's prepared to make comments for or against or neutral. So I would ask the applicant, is there any reason that you would want to continue this, or
Before we move to that stage, Mr. Chair, do any of the commissioners have any questions before?
Oh, sorry.
Before they end their presentation?
Sorry. Any commissioners have questions?
With that,
I do have a question. Obviously, the 2 trees that you have there are significant and definitely part of the home and the neighborhood. With the concrete driveway and moving a portion of the house towards the street, do you have methodologies for the contractors to protect root structures and things like that?
Yeah, we have a tree protection plan ready to go, and it was reviewed by Ellen's group. Yeah, so yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Anyone else? Well, then I'll come back again and say that is there any reason you would want to continue this hearing, or can we reach a conclusion tonight?
I don't have any reason.
Good. Deputy City Attorney, is there a reason why we need to describe the options at this point forward, or can we move into deliberation?
Well, let me just, okay, so there's no rebuttal because there's no other testimony. There's nobody on Zoom, Kat? All right, so closes that out. You don't wish to present additional evidence, and do you wish to submit additional argument, written argument, which would not consist of new testimony?
I do not.
Okay, but we're delayed, okay. So at that point, Mr. Chair, you may proceed with deliberation.
All right. Well, the public hearing is now closed, and the DRC will begin our deliberation. Anyone have comments about this application?
Press a button.
You're welcome to.
I'm glad you're protecting those trees, and I'm glad that the city is in line with doing that. And even though it'll be what do they call it, a snub nose house when the garage is sticking out, but half of Lake Oswego is that way anyway. So it'll be an improvement, and I'm all for it.
Any others have comments?
Yeah, I think the project aesthetically will enhance the house dramatically, which would enhance the neighborhood, and obviously it will increase the value of the home, which increases the value of the other homes around there. So it's a win-win.
Other comments? Well, then I would ask someone to make a motion to approve this, subject to the additional hearing, yeah.
Yeah, I would make a motion here to approve LU 24-0015 with the conditions as listed in the staff report.
I second it.
Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Sangre,
Aye.
O'Connor,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Bates,
Yes.
Leek,
Yes.
Mino,
Yes.
Linstrom,
Yes.
7-0.
Right, this was a tentative decision by the commission. Written findings will be brought back to the commission at its next meeting on July 15th at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
So we are finished. This is, again, a tentative decision. We will formally adopt this at our next meeting, right? Everybody understands that that's the procedure we follow? Yeah. All right, we do not have any other hearing. I do not see that we have any other business other than a management update. If I could ask Manager Hasty, yes, you are dismissed.
Thank you.
Successfully.
You wish.
You're welcome to stay.
I would ask Manager Hasty to give us a management update, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I forgot to catch former Chair Arthur before he left. We do have some refreshments available after tonight's DRC meeting has completed to mingle and get to know the two new commissioners. So please stick around for that if you're able. As far as a management update, yes, we will be meeting on July 15th for the adoption of findings for tonight's major variance. We also have an appeal of a type 2, or sorry, a request for a public hearing for a type 2 tree removal. So tonight was pretty straightforward. With tree appeals, you know that those are not as straightforward. So the staff report will be issued, I believe, Kat, is it next Friday? The 12th. Okay, so that will be available and sent out to you for review. As always, please let me or Kat know if you have any questions, or you can speak directly to Associate Planner Daphne Sissel, who will be the project manager for that tree hearing. We may have a hearing on August 5th. We are in the last couple of days of an appeal on a 2-parcel partition, and there was some indication that that might be appealed. So I'll let you know at the July 15th hearing whether or not that goes forward, or earlier if I do find out. But right now, nothing is for certain for August 5th. So that's it for a management update, I believe. Any questions for me before we adjourn? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is on the record, but I'd like to have a brief discussion among the 7 commissioners and welcome staff to provide input as well. How are we going to work together as a team for the next period? And I have 2 or 3 specific issues. Commissioner Leek and I have been joking about the yellow button for some months. You all see that there is a yellow button that calls attention to an individual who might want to speak. The previous commissioners found that that was probably not necessary, that the chair, who was very skilled at keeping track of everyone, would call on them or whatever and manage it that way. But some of us have experienced the use of the yellow button, and I am going to propose that we all think about whether we want to use the yellow button or not, and be prepared to talk about why we should.
I think to explain is the yellow button, when I push it, there's a screen in front of the chair that
Right.
tells him in order who pushed the button when. And that's how he responds to the different people who have pushed the yellow button.
Yeah. So think about whether you'd like to use the yellow button, which we have not been doing for some years, but which most other commissions and similar groups, I think, find an effective way to operate as.
Yeah, we did it on the planning commission. And once you push the button, you leave it on until he calls on you, then you turn it off.
Right. So think about that, all of us, including those of us who have been on the commission before. The second thing I'd like to talk about is communication among ourselves. And I'm going to frame this as I think it must be framed. There are certain very clear restrictions and requirements in terms of how we interact with one another on DRC business. It's very important that we remain objective. It's very important that we not discuss these cases among ourselves except in the public forum. And so, having said all of that, my own experience in organizations like this commission is from time to time there will be reasons why we want to be able to communicate with our colleagues. And so I would like to ask whether any of you have objection to having Kat collect information that you would provide about your telephone number or the email that you prefer, and have a document that would be distributed only among ourselves, although it is a public document. And if there is any objection to doing that, I'd like to hear about it. But I know I find it very helpful to be able to pick up the phone and call John Dews when he and I were asked last year to go to a meeting with the mayor, and at the last minute we couldn't both make it. We had to figure out who was going to say what. So if anyone has any concerns about that information, please let me know. And Kat has some of that information now. Would you distribute, Kat, a draft of that sheet to everyone and ask them if they would correct or in other way modify that sheet of contact information? Thank you. Everybody okay with that? Other than that, we do have some snacks. I don't know what they are, but we ought to go and take advantage of Randy's departure to eat well on his behalf. I look forward to working with all of you, especially the 2 new commissioners. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commission.
give this to you since I've seen it. That's what she presents to the chair.